Candace Kita in the house. She is an actress and a personal safety advocate. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me today.
So we want to have a very important conversation with you. Obviously, It's been all over the media, Uber and Lyft safety. After the tragic news of what happened recently, last week, what's your thought on this?
Well, I want to start with asking you a question, Jesslyn. If you were to think 10 years ago, where somebody were to say to you, you can have a button on your phone, and you push the button, and then a stranger's going to pull up in a car, and you're going to get in the car with a stranger and go somewhere, what would you have thought about that a decade ago?
That's absolutely crazy. Never.
Well, right. I mean, I would have thought it was a taxi, though, because didn't we do that?
Right. We did that, but those were regulated. This is Rideshare, where these are people that are contracted out. They're complete strangers to you, and yet everything that we've been taught about stranger danger, never get in somebody else's car when we were children, is now defunct. And so now we had a situation last week where Samantha Donaldson was actually in a car. She called an Uber and got into the wrong car. And as a result, the person that was in the car with her, the worst possible thing could have happened, and she was killed. And so that really makes everybody reevaluate the safety precautions and the safety measures that they should be taking in order to use rideshare services.
So what are some tips that you could share with us? Because it's obviously a convenience we're not going to give up.
Right. Well, because, on average, 7 million people a day take an Uber or a Lyft in the United States.
7 million.
Over 7 million people a day. So think about all the people that are out there, they're going to be using this service, and without thinking about it. I think a lot of the responsibility is going to rely on the person that is the user. So I think some of the quick and easy safety tips that you can use are, for example, they know your name. So the driver, before you actually get in the car, you should say, who are you coming to pick up? If they don't know your name, don't get in that car.
Makes sense.
Another thing that you could do is when you look at your app, you can see a photo of the driver. So make sure that the driver actually matches up with the person who's driving that car.
I'm sure also that they'll begin to do a lot more background checks. I'm sure they haven't done that up until this point.
Oh, no,
they do have background checks. Another thing, too, that you could do is simply look at the license plate, because the license plate is going to match the one that is in your app, and also the make and the model of the car. So these are really quick and simple tips that would have saved Samantha had she have simply just asked, who are you picking up?
But still, even that, let's just pretend they don't have a criminal record. Their driving record's okay. You're still putting yourself alone in a car with a stranger.
Yes.
It is very vulnerable.
Yes. And no matter what, it's like you always have to, I think, on safety on the whole is to be aware that I think it's really important to listen to that sixth sense and to be aware of the person wherever you are, whether you're in an Uber or a Lyft, or you're, walking in the parking lot to the mall by yourself, or you're leaving a restaurant by yourself late at night, to always be aware of your surroundings. I think today in our society, one of the problems is that we are constantly, where's my phone? We're constantly on our cell phones, and we're looking down, and we're walking through a parking lot, and we're not even aware of what's around us because we're so focused in on technology. Whereas a decade ago, we were all looking around, engaging, talking to people, reading each other's signs and signals, and listening to those subtle social cues that we are sometimes missing now because we're just simply not aware.
Yeah, we're missing, and we're not practiced in them either, right?
Exactly.
So as a result of being distracted so consistently, our skills have gotten rusty.
Exactly. I think we become desensitized. And because, I saw a thing on the news where a man was walking in Pasadena by the foothills, and he was on his phone, and a bear walked by.
A bear?
A grizzly bear walked by, and they caught on camera because he was so unaware that a black bear walked in front of him. So that's kind of the society that we're looking at now.
I will say, though, because sometimes people think, oh, not me, that's so far-fetched. And I'll share a very scary story that happened with me last year at Uber. I was distracted. I, shared the Uber, which is a horrible idea, and was on my phone because I didn't want to have to talk to the strangers. Not because I'm rude, but I was just on my phone. Didn't realize my purse had tipped over, lost my wallet. Driver finds out where I live because it's on my ID, as it is for everyone, shows up at my house the next day, demanding money, pounding on the door, threatening, and kept coming back. I contacted the company. I let them know, and they were like, for your safety, you need to call the police. I mean, it was a whole thing. But you think, oh, that's so sad that happened to that one girl. No, it happens to so many people. This isn't a one-off instance
We
by any
hope,
means.
yeah, we hope it's a one-off instance, and that's what we're talking about, safety, definitely. But even for me, like literally last week, I'm not joking, I was with my girlfriend and her friend, and we were going into Hollywood at night to go to a pop-up event, and we got into the Uber, and within, I'm not joking, 2 minutes of being in that Uber, the Uber driver was aggressively hitting on my girlfriend. Who is in a long-term relationship, who doesn't want to be hit on by the Uber driver, who made everybody uncomfortable in the Uber, and it was an awkward situation, and we didn't quite know what to do when he was hounding her for the phone number. So no matter what, it's like anybody who is an Uber driver is still a person.
Yeah. So it presents a good question. Let's say that you do all the things that you said, which are
Right.
great tips and tricks, and you get into the Uber and you're uncomfortable for one reason or the other.
You can ask to get out. I would, if you don't feel comfortable and something is telling you there's something wrong, don't even question it. I would just get out. You know, in fact, we actually got out a couple blocks earlier and walked on Hollywood Boulevard to our event because my girlfriend said, "Oh, just let us out here," because it was uncomfortable and it was awkward. It was weird, you know. And I think it's important to really listen to that. Another thing that you can do is, I know they have like Uber and Lyft signs that are in the front of the car. A lot of times people don't realize that you can also buy those on Amazon. So anybody can buy an Uber or an Uber or Lyft sign. So it's really important to make sure that you look at all these other safety things. Don't just assume that's your Uber or that's your Lyft, because it may not be. It's somebody who could be predatory and using that.
Right. Well, I think the point is, I mean, I don't think it's ever going to be totally safe. I mean, there's no way they can,
Of
if
course.
7 million people like have it. I mean, there's going to be incidences. There's no question about it. But I do think that you've got to think about it for yourself. What do you feel comfortable with? What don't you feel comfortable with? And getting a plan into place, just like anything. We prevent for if there's a fire, we prevent, you know, whatever. Like
That's such a
what
great
is
point.
our what is our, and maybe they'll come up with some kind of a button or something you can do if there's an emergency, or
Well,
I don't know. There's got to be something that they can do.
You
sure.
really
Good
actually
point.
brought up a good point because my partner and I tried to contact Uber. Yesterday, we tried to contact Uber. Do you know how difficult it is to contact Uber customer service or even
Yes,
get
and I
somebody
do.
on a phone? Did you try? Yeah, we couldn't. We actually were not able to do it. And we were thinking if there was an incident where we needed to contact them for an emergency, it's probably best to contact 911 because you literally can't get a hold of someone through Uber, either through live chat or email or even a phone number because it just directs you back to the website.
So sorry, friends out there, that everyone got off their rides of picking up people from the airport because they were, hey, it's back on. You're going to have to. I'm going to pick you up so you can pick me up because
That's
I don't
right.
know. I'm going to think about this at 10
Car-
o'clock at
You're
night coming in, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
5 minutes to the airport.
I am very grateful for the service they provide, for the
Yes.
jobs and the opportunity it's given to so many people across the world who needed to make extra income. I do really want to honor that because it is a positive experience the majority of the time, but it is important to
Absolutely.
listen to your intuition, be smart and be aware.
And we're not ragging on Uber or Lyft for that matter. It's just taking
No.
safety precautions. You know, another one I think is when you order your rideshare service, why don't you order it and then if you can, go wait inside? Because if you stand outside looking like you're waiting for an Uber for 10 minutes, as a young woman, somebody who might be predatory might scoop in and pretend to be that Uber or Lyft that you've just ordered. And if you don't know to ask the questions or look for certain things on that Uber or that driver or that car or that driver's license plate, then you could also be a victim. And I think that the father of Samantha was saying that his life, I was reading an article, he was saying that his life's mission from now on is women's safety and to educate young women on how to take rideshare properly. Not just young women, basically everybody, because we all take it now.
Well,
you
thank
know?
you,
Yeah.
Candace,
Totally.
so
Thank
much
you so
for
much.
sharing
Very
those tips
helpful.
for your time. And like, tell everyone where they can get more information about you and follow your journey.
Sure. My website, CandaceKita.com, and Instagram, official CK1.
Awesome.
Thank you, official
Thank you
CK1.
so much.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with more. Good morning, La La Land.